In this video, we are going to be talking about karma, how to clear karmic lessons, how to recognize them, and why we even have to go through that. I don't know about you, but I have been getting hit with lesson after lesson after lesson. I'm getting hit with lessons that are different lessons within one situation, and like a bunch of lessons within like the same week. It's crazy. I know that these are being amplified by the solar flares and just the general state of the world and the high energies. It's really calling us to overcome these things quickly because, you know, it's just going down right now, and we definitely have to overcome a lot of things within ourselves in order to get to the new frequency or the new earth. So that's why I know I'm being tested left and right. So I figured that I would just share these insights with you guys because I definitely have had to revisit why I have to deal with karma. So all of this information is channeled through meditations. If it resonates with you, then great. And if not, then that's fine too. My name is Catherine. I'm an energy healer, spiritual coach, and nurse practitioner. If you need personalized coaching or an energy healing from yours truly, then you can go to my website at catherineglassman.com, or you can email me at hello@catherineglassman.com. And also, I'm going to apologize again for the sound. It is really echoing here. I'm trying. I have just so much to do and so many things to add to this house to make it the way that I want. I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that there are high ceilings, but it is creating an echo and it's driving me crazy. So, sorry. So first of all, what is a karmic lesson? Karma, my definition of karma is the close-ended loop between an action and a consequence. So a lot of people think that karma has something to do with a past life, and if you do something in a past life, then in the next lifetime, you have to live a certain way. Like you know, if you did something bad, then you'll come back as like a bug or something like that, which is not entirely true. You actually get to choose if you want to come back as a bug, but it's not chosen for you. You actually choose everything yourself before reincarnating. This is just what I've seen in meditation, and this is just what my experience has also been. So it can involve past lives, but it can also involve this current life as well. Sometimes there is karma that takes lifetimes to complete, and then sometimes you get instant karma, which I think most of us are familiar with that. The one thing that a lot of people have a challenge with is karmic loops. So a karmic loop is when you continue to experience the same karma because you have not learned the lesson from that experience. For example, if I've used this example before. So if you are someone who is single and looking for a partner, but you keep attracting the same type of people, that is usually an indicator that you're stuck in a karmic loop and you haven't figured out how to break that cycle. And so it's funny when people say, you know, oh, that person's my type or they're not my type. I always think that it's more karmically related. Of course, I don't go too deeply into everyone that says that because it's very individualized. And so I don't care to do that with every single person. But I do wonder if it's more karmically related. And it's funny because I saw like some social media reel where a woman says that her therapist told her that that particular person is not necessarily their type, but more of their pattern, which actually fits perfectly into the karmic theory, right? And that's the one thing that I actually really love about psychology is it helps us label things so that we can better understand what things that we're going through, and it actually gives us tools to overcome that karma. They're never going to use, I mean, maybe they'll use the terms karma and use, you know, more metaphysical terminology, but I like to use it all because, I mean, why not? Why just, you know, pigeonhole yourself into one particular ideology? Another thing that's challenging about karmic loops is that the karma will continue to come back into your life, but it will come in different forms. And it's not good enough to ignore it. You have to actually deal with it. But of course, the first step to dealing with it is to recognize it first. So how do you recognize a karmic situation or a karmic loop? The most obvious sign would be just a repeated experience. A repeated experience through different people or circumstances. So for example, if you are in relationships and for some reason in most of your relationships you keep getting cheated on, that's a pretty good sign that there is a karmic loop happening. I actually worked with a woman who had experienced sexual assault multiple times in her life. And after unpacking a lot of it, she came to discover that she, of course, no one ever asks for these things to happen, okay? But, you know, there is an explanation for that. But she unveiled that there was a part of her that just accepted the experience because she didn't want to endure the consequences of not. So part of the reasoning was she didn't want other family members to endure the assault. Or she just didn't want to be punished for sticking up for herself, okay? So there was a piece of her that almost kind of just accepted the circumstance. But we later discovered that the reason why she was stuck in the karmic loop was because she was giving her power away. It was because she wasn't sticking up for herself and just fighting for her own body. And the only reason why I can confidently say that is because that completely resonated with her. It made complete sense. And things actually started to shift for her after having that realization. This, of course, is not going to be, applied to everyone. It doesn't go across the board because it's very individualized. You have to do a lot of deep work and introspection and shadow work to discover what the true purpose is or what the meaning is behind your particular karmic loop. But that just so happened to be with hers. Another way to recognize karma or a karmic loop is that it almost feels destined. So have you ever been in a situation, and I'm using relationships a lot, maybe because just relationships seem to be like a common theme right now with my friends and just the people I'm around, and me too. But so have you ever been in a situation where you met someone new and it was like love at first sight, and there was just something there was just some sort of connection, it was just completely undeniable, and you were just completely drawn to them, but the circumstances were not perfect, or they just weren't in a way that is sufficient for that relationship to exist in reality. Like one person is married, or one person is addicted to drugs, or both people are literally just complete opposites and live completely different lifestyles, or you ended up fighting a lot, right? So what I'm trying to say is sometimes we can confuse this instant connection between two people right off the bat. We can confuse that experience with it being love or just being some sort of destined relationship that's meant to last forever. Sometimes we hold on to that initial infatuation energy and use that to justify holding on to an inappropriate relationship. So that instant connection, that infatuation, that instant draw, that actually can be a sign that you have some karma to deal with and that this person is going to help you overcome that karma. Most of the time, both parties have some sort of karma that they need to deal with, but they will likely be very different from one another. And one person's karma may be a little bit more challenging or more intense than the other person's. For example, with me, in my first year as a nurse practitioner, I just had the year from hell. I went from being an RN and working at one hospital for 3 years and then the next hospital for 5 years to going through 6 jobs in 1 year and getting fired from 2 of them. I had never been fired in my life. I really had to do a lot of introspection on this year for me. Now, the karma the lesson that I was learning was that it was more of like an empowerment thing for me. It was kind of coming to the understanding that that particular work is not what I'm really meant to do, and that I really just need to find the courage to just actually build up my own business and just put myself out there. Okay. That's why I kept getting fired, because it was trying to tell me that that is not what I'm supposed to do. Okay. On the other end, the first person that fired me, she actually ended up having to sell that business because that business went under because she was committing fraud. Okay. And so obviously her karma is probably a little bit more intense or just worse, maybe. I don't know how she's doing, but that is the karma that she experienced in that situation. Both of us were involved, but our karmic lessons were very different. The other person that ended up firing me actually was fired 2 weeks after she fired me, and she was fired because she fired me. And this company has been trying to get me to come back ever since then. But again, I know after meditating on that particular situation, I learned that that was the only reason why I was there, was to just make that karma happen. And then also for reasons that I said before with my own personal karma. But yeah, it's interesting when you can see it and when you know what's happening, and to be in certain situations with people and to know that you are part of the karma, if not the entire karma. It's wild. So really, anytime you find yourself in a strange situation, or you find yourself feeling like something is nagging you in a particular situation or relationship or whatever, it's always good to just ask yourself if there is something that you're supposed to be learning in this experience. Of course, you always have an opportunity to learn something, but that experience may be existing specifically for you to learn a particular lesson. Because honestly, it would be so much better and easier for all of us if everyone, or at least, me, right? If I just did that with every single situation and experience, ask myself, what is it that I'm supposed to be learning? Because if you can learn it and neutralize it, then it will not come back. So how do we complete karma? The most obvious solution is this only applies to situations that you've been in before. So if you are in a karmic loop and you've recognized the loop and what it looks like, the obvious answer is to look at the choices that you made in those previous experiences and make a different and better choice this time. Groundbreaking, I know. But this is why I go back to people saying like, oh, that's my type or they're my type. It's like, well, your type hasn't been working, so maybe we should change things? I don't know. And of course, to each their own. I'm just saying, I'm speaking from a karmic perspective, okay? No judgments. Ultimately, the goal is to make a decision that neutralizes the energy. You really have to focus on yourself when it comes to that. You can't make decisions with the hopes that it will make other people feel better. The ultimate goal would be for the highest good for everyone involved. But sometimes that can't be the case, because sometimes the best case is for other people to learn their lesson. So an example of that would be, somebody being abused, or like someone in the family being abused, but no one reporting it. So for many people who choose not to report those kinds of things, there's a number of reasons why they do that, right? Sometimes it is because they just don't want to stir up drama. They don't want to create a traumatic experience for the person who received the abuse. You know, like a child, they don't want to drag them through that entire process. Maybe they don't want retaliation. There could be a number of things, but sometimes you have to go through the dirty work in order to truly clear that karma. And in doing so, in the end, you really should feel neutralized or at peace with the decision that you made. Now, of course, the abuser will not feel at peace if you reported it, right? If you reported it to the police, they're not going to feel at peace. But that's okay, because you're not dealing with their lifetime and their lessons and their karma. You're dealing with yours. And you know, the child that is involved, if there is a child, they are also dealing with their own karma. We have the ability to ensure that they can be given the opportunity to clear their own karma. And so that would end up being good karma on your end if you were to assist them in that with reporting it. If you didn't report it and you just kind of let it go and swept it under the rug, they still have their karma to deal with, but now you just missed an opportunity to assist them with clearing that karma a little bit more quickly. And now they're going to have to kind of do that on their own. And then also you likely have not cleared your karma at all either. And so just a side note. Another way to clear karma is through forgiveness. Forgiveness will always clear karma, but it has to be real forgiveness. It can't be just you not talking about it anymore, you letting it go and never bringing it up again. That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is working through that energy and releasing it completely from your body, from your mind, from just your auric field. You're just releasing that energy entirely. You'll know if you have forgiven someone completely or have not forgiven someone completely if you continue to be triggered by them or by, you know, someone mentioning them or anything having to do with them or that situation that they put you through. Triggers are always a good sign that there's still more work to be done. And a lot of times when we talk about forgiveness, we are talking about forgiving another person for the issues and things that they have created for us or the karma they gave us, which I'll talk about in a minute. But a lot of times we tend to forget that there needs to be forgiveness within ourselves and towards ourselves. The guilt, the shame, the anger, all of those things that you hold on to when you don't forgive yourself and you don't forgive other people, that energy is the karma that's trying to be cleared. And so if you have any remnants of guilt or shame or anything like that, then it means that you haven't cleared it yet. This is why people say you don't forgive other people for them, you forgive those people for yourself. Because true forgiveness will release you from the shackles of that kind of energy. And you truly can let it go and truly move on. And so really the goal is to have a neutral energy, or like a neutral, you want to have peace is what you want. You don't want to be triggered. You don't want to have this little nagging feeling about that particular situation. So for example, if you are married, right, and you just hit it off with a person and, you kind of think that they might be the one, but you're also struggling in your current relationship and, whatever, but you recognize it. So the choice that you decide to make is to cut it off completely and to just stop talking to this person. Okay, good. That sounds like a good decision, right? But then secretly, you know, behind closed doors, you look at their social media, or you just kind of stalk them and just keep tabs on them and see what they're doing, right? So clearly that is not real peace. That's not really letting it go. You're going through the motions of what one is supposed to do, but deep down within your soul, you actually haven't fulfilled that karmic loop or that karmic cycle. And so what's going to happen is that, okay, sure, you are no longer speaking to this person, but what will happen is that person or that lesson will come back in another form, and you know, whatever, it will just give you another opportunity to handle it differently. So why do we even have to deal with karma? Karma is a tool that is given to us in order to help us self-actualize. It gives us the opportunity to learn who we are and what our true potential really is. Throughout multiple lifetimes, you will get to experience literally everything. And when you get to experience everything, that means you get to connect and empathize with everything. This is a good thing to remember when you feel victimized by someone or something, or you see another person be victimized. A good example would be child abuse. There obviously is no excuse for that, ever. It's wrong, and my human, for sure, does not do well, you know, with children being abused and things like that. I don't have any children, but I definitely have a maternal instinct, and I'm a mama bear thing about me. I mean, there are people out there, right, that have seen like a man beating on a woman in the middle of the street and nobody stops. And that is most people's reaction. That's not me. I don't care. But I'm a wild card, and plus I've got like this warrior energy about me. Sometimes it's not the best, it's not the wisest, it's not the wisest thing to do, but you know, it is what it is. I'm here for it. I'm on earth, like, let's go. But with that being said, I've also been the child to be abused, okay? So sure, it is not something that anyone should experience. However, for me in particular, had I not gone through all of those things that I went through, I would not be the woman that I am today. And the woman that I am today, I am truly proud of. I have come a long way. And not only does it make me stronger, but it also puts me in a position where I can understand those particular circumstances, and I am better equipped to be able to help other people that are also in that situation. And so that was my journey, okay? And so when we hear about a child being abused or a person being sexually assaulted or something, yes, it is terrible. But we also don't know what journey that soul is on. We don't know what it's trying to teach them, where they're gonna go. It's ultimately gonna give them an opportunity to either be crushed by the experience and to continue on that karmic cycle, or it will give them the ability to just rise out of the ashes and become and transform into something that they never knew they could be. This, of course, reminds me of The Final Girl, right? I may have mentioned it on this channel, but I am a huge horror movie fan. I always have been since I was a kid. My parents thought that there was something wrong with me. What's new? So in the horror movie genre, there is this trope called the final girl. Now, the final girl, and this really mostly applies to like the older slasher movies. The final girl is the girl who She's always the girl that everyone underestimates, right? She's typically the virgin. She seems kind of weak and nerdy, and nobody pays any mind to her. And throughout the movie, there is this monster that starts to kill everyone and kill her friends, and eventually it's going to come after her. And so everyone's dying. It's a terrible thing, and there's gore and whatever. But if you pay close attention, there is a turning point within this girl where she goes from being the victim and running to stopping in her tracks, turning around to face the monster, and then becoming the warrior. Okay. After she makes this incredible transformation, then she faces the monster and she kills it. Through this experience, she has now become a significantly more powerful version of herself, but she would not have discovered this part of her had she not gone through that experience. Okay. Thus calling her the final girl. You see, my parents, they just thought that there was something deeply wrong with me. If they would have just asked me why I like watching them, I would have told them, like, yeah, I'm the final girl, obviously. And all of us are final girls or final boys in our own lives, right? We don't have to be victimized all the time by our circumstances. It's just giving us that opportunity to just be the badass in our own particular movie. This is the essence of the phoenix rising out of the ashes. So, just something to keep into consideration when you feel victimized or you feel like someone else is being victimized. Just understand that they are on a journey and they may become something significantly greater because of it. So, I'm going to keep that in mind while I go through my little karmic cycles currently. It's really annoying. Kind of feels like a cruel joke sometimes, but whatever. I guess life is just funny that way. But I hope you liked the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Consider subscribing, and I will see you next time.